So my name is Reese Jones, you probably already know that, and today I'm going to talk to you about today's workforce and who wants to work. It's going to be focusing on immigration. It's going to be talking about immigration from not only Mexico, but also Latin America, Central America, and maybe touch on North Africa. And right now, since we're all ag students, who is the largest, try to phrase this correctly, what is the largest employee nationality in America in agriculture? Not only horticulture, but also nursery industries. Come on, just two-way guys participate.
Mexican.
Okay, yeah, Mexicans. Latin America. Very good. And so I just found that there's just a huge connection between agriculture and this issue. Alright, so my areas of focus will be, I can't remember what that says.
You can probably do it in current slide now.
Mm-hmm.
You like go to the top and like open up the
slide. Since it was jumping your second slide.
I need to put it in slide, so.
Oh yeah, true, you're right. What?
Or, you know.
Or it can, okay, yeah, that's cool, I
Does
guess.
the left arrow work?
It kept flipping.
Yeah,
Try from the beginning.
Yeah, try from the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so current industry challenges. So, recently, ever since post-Bush, or even during the Bush administration, there was this huge push to increase border patrols, to increase armaments in the border to prevent immigrants from coming over. And does anybody know what the significance of those impacts are? What impacts are to these increased patrols, increased importance on border, protecting it from illegal aliens from coming on? I won't be discussing that, and you guys are going to know by the end of this. I want to talk about hiring immigrants and why it's important to do so. Why do we care so much about these immigrants and not caring about the people who live here in America? And then historical reform. And I want to admit, this historical part is going to be kind of dry, but it's important to understand what the proliferation of immigration legislation over the years since the Reagan administration to today. And I'm also going to cross that with some of the news stories that I have for you today. And then direct immigration workforce avenues. So I want to talk about what green cards are, what visas are, and some programs that industries go into in order to get these immigrants to come into the country legally. So the fight here is show you legal ways to get immigrants and to fight off these illegal ways. And I'll talk about the benefits of both. So, this is an image that showed up on the Wall Street Journal in April. Can anybody guess what plant that is growing? No, those are white blooms of strawberries. This is just a small farm. This is only 35 acres of strawberries. I mean, that's pretty big, but relatively small compared to California. But this is Washington, not Washington, D.C., Washington State. And as you can see, there's only one worker here. There's no workers back there. There's one worker there. That's because there's a severe shortage of pickers in this spring. In fact, there was a 9.5% decline in the strawberry industry because they did not have anybody to pick the fruit after they matured. And that translates to about $3.9 billion that was just left on these plants, just left to rot because there was no one to pick them, which is a complete waste, and all that money just goes to nothing. So in order to counteract some of these labor shortages, they typically like to increase the wages. There are some places where they have employees, 2,000 immigrants, of course legally here, and they give them $17 an hour. That is a lot of money. Plus you've got benefits they're going to offer them, dental insurance, health care. They're going to offer them, some places, not 2,000 person employer, but there's another place who offered them a retirement. And that's huge. Actually, there's also, this just is a graph. It shows you the increase in the average wage. So that $17 was just a small portion of the industry, as you can see. And another big part on this Wall Street Journal article talked about how there was a glitch in the computer system on the Mexican border. And so you had about hundreds and hundreds of immigrants trying to get into America to be there for the strawberry harvest, but they couldn't do it because of this glitch. So they held back about a month and a half. And of course, a month and a half with plants ready to go on the vines, they didn't need to be picked now. They all rotted. There wasn't any time. So they got there and there was no work for them. is very unfortunate. So there's a severe struggle in the industry to get immigrants and migrants to come up and help work. So this is called bar evergreens. Can anybody guess what kind of tree that is?
Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Give me a little more specific.
A Fraser fir.
Okay, I'm going to argue it's either a Norway fir or it's a Fraser fir, but good job on that. So as you can see, there's migrants workers that are on there. And what they're claiming is that they try extremely hard in the local population to try to get employment. There is a huge statute in detaining immigrants from across the border, and that's you have to try first to get people to work in your local area to go on these farms. And they tried places like go to churches, they go to high schools, announce on the loudspeakers, but no one's going to want to fill these jobs. I mean, we're talking, this is backbreaking work. You're out there for 6-7 hours. But imagine the strawberries. I mean, you're bent over like this for hours and hours of the day. Not many people want to do that job. So, I don't want to go into historic reform yet. I'll get you prepped for that. So, H2A. This is, if you ever are interested in hiring immigrant workers, there's this program called H2A. That's what this barbaric farms use to get these migrants to come up. And the government, they actually ship the workers straight to your farm. However, in order to get this program to work for you, you have to go through that statute that I previously said about trying to get local jobs, and you have to go through the Department of Labor, and that is a couple-year process in order to get to actually state that your business is legitimate and actually will allow these people to work for you. All right, so let's go into historical reform. The purpose of this, though, as I previously stated, is to show you what has changed, what's going to happen in the future. If we start with pre-Reagan administration, migrants from Latin America and Central America, they can come in across the border, no big deal at all, because the government officials, they understood that it had a huge impact on our economy, our agricultural economy. However, during the Reagan administration, during the pre-Reagan administration, so we're talking about 70, 75, there was a large amount of reform which prevented a lot of immigrants from coming across the border and working on farms. But the positive of that was in Reagan, in 1986, this act was passed, which grandfathered in any of the current workers in the workforce to stay in America as permanent residents. And this was a huge thing. This is currently a huge thing because the average employee, the average employee as a migrant, he averages the age of 38. In the past 5 years, that's increased from 32 to 38. Anybody understand the significance of this state to having the average age of 38? It's because that average age are these immigrants who are grandfathered in. I know on our farm, one of our workers is Chilo. He is our most legal migrant that comes over because he's grandfathered in under this act. He's perfectly legal. These are the people that they're going to pay $17 an hour because there's no problems with their paperwork. That's just a big thing in the industry if you ever do hiring in the future. And then post-1996, so we're talking Bush-era legislation, increasing border patrols and whatnot. So just the escalation of immigrant regulation. So these are the avenues of hiring. First, you've got green cards. Green cards are a very hefty process to get. If that person has any relatives in America, that puts them higher on the list. It's all about your connections, to be honest with you. I mean, if you're just this person who has no identity from, let's say Nicaragua, and you have no relation to people up in America or know anything about that, maybe you have a tenuous link to maybe getting an employment offer once you get up there, you're most definitely not going to be allowed to get in. And that goes for visas too. Underneath there it says skilled and unskilled. So there is a certain amount of visas that you can get for skilled and unskilled workers, and the loophole in that is that you have to be able to debate that your person that you want to bring over is skilled. And that could be managing abilities or picking general abilities, just puts them higher on the list to attain it. And alternative nationals. There is about 50,000 visas that are offered to nations with the least amount of migrants. So if you're able to tap into different countries like Eastern Europe, or Northern Africa or Philippines, which has a low amount of immigrants coming over, you could possibly get a very easy way to get a visa for those individuals and they can work on your farm without having to go through the hefty green cards that are for immigrants from Latin America, like Mexico. So, in summation, I hope that everybody understands there is a movement against immigration and it's impacting things like 9.9% of the industry, which is billions and billions of dollars. So, in the future, make sure everybody understands that it's just going to keep on increasing, and we have to find alternatives to go around this so that we can keep people on the farms and keep them working so we keep our production up. Also, if you want some more sources, there's a place called nolo.com, and that will give you everything on how to deal with green cards and visas and how they issue them, so you can find loopholes in the system. Thank you.
You have that slide with like the cartoon